People in Los Angeles are on edge amid sweeping ICE raids. Federal agents facing off with protesters who threw rocks and bottles at unmarked vehicles that passed by on Friday. The group quickly clearing out after federal agents deployed some type of smoke canisters at the crowd. Vice President J.D. Vance also visiting Los Angeles in support of law enforcement and in support of the Trump administration's military deployment to the city. ABC's Melissa Adon has more on this. Melissa.
Geo, tensions against immigration enforcement raids continue here in Los Angeles as protesters now enter their third week of calling for a stop to these raids, and the White House is not backing down. Small protests like this one last night popping up across Los Angeles in response to the ongoing immigration enforcement raids. This after Vice President J.D. Vance was seen yesterday shaking hands and meeting with U.S. Marines deployed in Los Angeles. During his visit, he delivered remarks at a federal command facility where he thanked federal and local law enforcement working to enforce immigration laws. He also called out LA's mayor and California's governor. Well, 2 weeks ago today, protests erupted when immigration enforcement agents began making mass detentions in LA. The following day, President Trump called in the California National Guard without consulting the state's governor, a move the governor and LA's mayor said would only provoke people. Well, now an appeals court says the president likely acted within his authority as hundreds of Marines and the California National Guard remain on the ground here. And on Thursday, another protest, this one by the Dodgers Stadium, where federal agents were spotted. The Dodgers say they denied giving permission for ICE agents to be on their property, and Homeland Security says ICE agents had nothing to do with the Dodgers. It was Customs and Border Protection officials at the parking lot unrelated to any operation or enforcement. Well, the LA Dodgers are now committing $1 million for financial assistance for families of immigrants impacted by the recent events. Geo.
All right, Melissa, thank you so much. For more on how this is all impacting communities, let's bring in immigration lawyer Alexandra Ribe joining us now. Alexandra, thank you for being here. Millions of undocumented immigrants across the country are living in fear of being arrested. What's different now versus other years?
Well, there's a few things that are different now. Most notably, one of the things that's different is that immigrants are en masse getting detained at court proceedings. I've been an immigration lawyer for a couple of decades now. I've never seen that in my life. That this did not happen during the first Trump administration. These are people who are attending their court proceedings, and then the Department of Homeland Security is moving to dismiss their case. Immigration judges have gotten memos that they're supposed to agree with this dismissal, and then people are getting detained, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult for people to get out on bond once they've become detained as well due to a change in case law. So that's one way, and then another way is through check-ins. So a lot of people have immigration check-ins that they have to report to, they're told to report to. So they'll go to those immigration check-ins, and in the past, what would have happened is that they would have just been signed off that they attended their check-in as that they were asked to, but now they're actually being detained, and again, we're having a lot of trouble under current case law, even asking for these people to be bonded out. And so these are people that are trying to do what they've been told. They're trying to report to court. They're trying to report to their check-ins. And instead of that being helpful to their case, they're being detained and deported in an expeditious fashion.
LA's Mayor Karen Bass has been saying that it's getting to the point where people are staying away from work, school, other public spaces to avoid being swept up. What does that tell you about the impact that this could have on local economies?
That's right. I mean, the other thing is that, we're hearing that ICE agents are going into kindergarten graduations, and they're going into hospitals. And so even people who have status, even people who have TPS, for example, or people who have U visas or other types of statuses are terrified to be outside. I mean, I can't tell you how many consultations I have with U.S. citizens, naturalized citizens, and lawful permanent residents who don't want to travel anywhere. They are scared to do anything. Even people with proper immigration status in the United States are worried because there's ICE agents everywhere, and there's really very limited. It's very limited as to what the person can do if they are confronted with an ICE agent, and people are just nervous.
All right, immigration lawyer Alexandra Ribe, thank you so much for joining us here.